Hi BookTube! Sorry I didn't film a vlog on Saturday or Sunday, but with the rain rolling in, it messed up like my sinuses, and I had a horrible sinus headache, or like the sinus pressure the whole weekend. And yes, I didn't have the energy or the will to film any vlog footage, but I did manage to read quite a few books. And I don't know if it's just my mood or with the dark, gloomy rain or what, but the books were just hit or miss, I will say. And in fact, in one situation, I'm just going to get rid of a whole set of books. But on a happier note, for Shaketember, I've been going along with each week's prompts. And so I read King Richard III, by William Shakespeare, the play, and then I read Antony and Cleopatra. And both of these are rereads for me. I have read them previous, Shaketember or ShakeTube picks, years ago. Richard III is it's a tragedy history play. Basically, Richard is going to do anything he can to become king, and he's going to act like it's like all fake to him to get there. He's going to lie and cheat, do anything he can basically to get there. You're like, oh, I don't want to be king, but then he ends up being king, and it's a longer play. And then after I finished the book, I was watching other people's videos on this book, and I think Kelly over at Books I'm Not Reading was saying that this is, she was mentioning how it's the second longest play of his, and it felt a little bit like that, but it didn't drag at all. But I was like, oh, wow, I could tell this is a longer play compared to the other ones I was reading, like Antony and Cleopatra, Romeo and Juliet for this month's pick. And then speaking of Antony and Cleopatra, this kind of with reading Romeo and Juliet like a week or so ago, and then this one, I can really see the comparison of the doomed love and the love that ends in death and all that kind of stuff. But this one, it does jump around quite a bit with different scenes. You're going I feel like you're going just all over the place, all over the map. And sometimes it's just half of one page, for example. There's one scene, and then you're moving over here and over here. So it's not more dramatic than Romeo and Juliet, but I don't know if there's more movement to it, if that makes any sense. And it is very dramatic, I will say that. But yeah, I don't really think I need to go into too much depth with Shakespeare, because I don't know, you just taught in schools, and there's so many videos out there on Shakespeare. But I did want to mention that I read those two books for Shaketember. And then as far as the other books, I read Portrait of an Island by Mildred and John Teal. They are scientists, marine scientists, that live in New England, I think Connecticut, and they both work for an institute. But for a while, they went down to Georgia in the 1950s. And there's a map here. It's the Sapelo Island that's mainly featured in the book, and then Blackbeard Island. And so it shows the marshes around, the rivers, and then the islands here. Here's the other one. Yeah, Sapelo and Blackbeard. And it's right off the coast of Georgia. And this, I was hoping it would be more narrative than it was, talking about, maybe the comparisons of, their life in Connecticut compared to this, and how do they settle in, and what friends they make, not so much sciencey, if that makes sense. Sciencey, that's not, I don't know if it's a word or not, but you know what I mean. But this is just chapter by chapter going by topic. So you have a whole chapter on frogs, you have a chapter on snakes, you have a chapter on the bugs, and it just goes like that. A chapter on the beach and the sand. So it's more science than it is the narrative story of them living there and what they stumble upon and what they see, kind of thing. But it was good, just not great for me. But yeah, like I said, not exactly. There's nothing wrong with the book. It's just my expectations or my perception going into what it was going to be was different. But yeah, beautiful illustrations here. So this is the forest, savanna, and swamp. Yeah, I love the Spanish moss. And then, but it talks about the epilogue, but they go back, I think it's the 1990s, or, they go back, decades later, and they talk about how, the Spanish moss, that's one thing they noticed was quite a bit different, because before, all the trees had a lot of that Spanish moss, hanging all over the place, all over the trees, but, there was some kind of disease that was, eating it away, so basically, they said there was just little clumps here and there, so that was interesting to see the difference. So there's that one, and then I finished Heart Songs. It's a short story collection by E. Annie Prue. This, it was just okay. And it didn't blow me away. And this is one of her earlier, maybe her first, like, debut short story collection. And it's all about, it's set in New England. And it's all about, like, the redneck kind of people of New England. And, you know, what their life's about. And, I don't know. None of these stories, like, really hit me. There's a couple here that, like, I found really good. But the others were just... Yeah, I don't. It's just like it's focusing on the rural tradition, the rights of nature, the rituals of small town life. You know, blue collar New England, Native families and dispossessed working class. Yeah, and then, you know, their challenges, that kind of thing. So all that sounds good. It's, I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't in the right mood for it, but it was just okay. And then for a series, I've completely like, nope, not going to keep this. It's not going to stay on my shelves at all. And that is this Laura Ingalls Wilder, Days of Laura Ingalls Wilder series by T.L. Tedrow. So I read the first one here. This is called Missouri Homestead. And this takes place right after the Little House on the Prairie series and like her book on going from the Dakotas to Missouri. So this place, basically, like, they're leaving the Dakotas and they're going to Missouri, and then you're starting their life there, starting their farm in the Ozarks. But like, so there, you know, there is documents, there is, like, you know, Laura's own writing, and you know, whatnot, and you know, telling, you know, what happened, and like the name, like, you know, Rocky Ridge Farmers, like the name they gave their town, their farm in Missouri. But this author took so many liberties, not just with what is actually documented, what Laura herself wrote that happened. He didn't just take liberties with that, but just like their personalities. Laura was just shrill and like demanding and not respectful at all of her husband Almanzo, and Almanzo was just a complete caricature. He was like a fool. Like, at one point he was dancing around, like doing a jig, and like that never came across as what Almanzo would have been like, and that happened throughout the book. Like, at one point, Laura's like wiping his face with a napkin, like that. Like, I don't know, just the whole treatment of him was just really weird. And so, like, Rocky Ridge Farm, like that's the name of the farm they had there, and like in this one it's called Apple Hill, and like it's just all sorts of things. It felt like complete fan fiction, but like a, you know, published, you know, fan fiction. So all these books I'm gonna be getting rid of because I just did not care anything about the story. I didn't like. I like the covers, okay. I mean, there's a bunch of books in this series, but yeah, I did not like it in the least. So yeah, these are going to be unhung, but then, you know, that's going to free up room for other books. And so this just makes me really want to dive in to the multiple series of the Laura generational series. Like, it's her mom Caroline has her a series. Her daughter Rose has a series. I think it's like, you know, 5 to 7, 8 books for each, and then her grandma has one as well. So I just want to go with those instead of these, because these were just not good. Like, I knew going in that, you know, there was gonna be, you know, liberties taken. There's gonna be twists, and, you know, he's gonna make up some stuff. But just the level of what he made up, it didn't make sense at all. Like, they had their names and, you know, vague inklings of from the books and history, but that was it. I mean, very loose connections. So yeah, anyway, outside of that, I did some house cleanings, like, yay, because, like, with the weather changing, like, it doesn't seem that we're going to be getting any more heat at all. So I took all the air conditionings out of the windows and cleaned all that stuff up, and I got my fall decorations out. So the next thing I need to do, I just didn't have the energy to do anymore. The next thing I need to do is, like, actually decorate with the decorations I pulled out. I have, like, some, like, little twinkly lights, because I for sure need that. I need extra light here, because you can't tell right now, but I mean, it's been pitch black. It feels like inside, because, well, maybe you see some of my videos, like, when I'm sitting outside on the patio, there's lots of pine trees, like, right against, what feels like right against my windows, and so there's not a lot of natural light that comes in, and when it's, like, dark and cloudy and gloomy, there's very little light comes in, and so, yeah, I need all the extra light I can get to make it feel like I'm not just living in a cave. But yeah, anyway, so sorry for missing out on the vlog footage, but I'm gonna make up for it this coming week. So I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.